Welcome back to Think CSEC. Today we'll be doing the CSEC Social Studies May June 2018 past paper 1, but this would be part 2. So if you haven't yet watched part 1, there's a link in the description below to that video, so you can go ahead and watch part 1 and then come back and watch part 2. But if you're new to the channel, please just pause this video, go right ahead and hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so that you are alerted when new videos are posted. So let's get into these questions. Items 31 to 32 refer to the following table, which shows the population figures of 4 countries. We have the area square kilometer, and we have our population in the year 2016. So let's look at country 1. Well, country 1 have an area square kilometer of 750 approximately, and the population is 70,000. Country 2 have 100 area square kilometer and 150,000 population. Country 3 has 300 area square kilometer and they have a population of 100,000, and country 4 have 25,000 area in square kilometer and 150,000 population. Let's look at the question. The question says, which country has the highest population density? Is it A, 1, B, country 2, C, 3, or D, country 4? Now, what is population density? Well, we know population density is the average number of people living in every square kilometer of an area or in a country. So how do we find the population density? Well, we have to divide our total population over or into our area square kilometer. So let's look at country 1. So country 1, let's look at, so total population divide into area square kilometer. So country 1 is, the population is 70,000. So 70,000 divided by 750. When we do that, we get 93.33. Let's look at country number 2. Our population is 150,000. So we divide 150,000 by 100, and that gives us 1,500. Let's look at country number 3. It has a population of 100,000. So we're going to divide that into 300, and we get 333.33. Let's look at country 4. We divide 150,000 into 25,000, and we're going to get 6. So based on our workout, so we know the country that has the highest population density is country 2. So our answer is B. Let's go on to question number 32. It says, the term labor force is best defined as all persons who are A, at the age of retirement from work, B, qualified, willing, and able to work, C, employed and those actively seeking employment, or D, qualified to work and are currently seeking employment. So we know labor force really is you're qualified to work and you're currently seeking employment. So our answer would be D. Let's go on to question number 33. The introduction of machines in agriculture results in the unemployment of farm workers. The type of unemployment these workers suffer is A, normal, B, cyclical, C, seasonal, D, technical. So what is a normal unemployment? Well, we know normal employment is when a person, they are being fired either because they're not efficient enough to carry out their work, or they they become redundant. That's normal and unemployment. Or they have leave in search of a better job. That's normal unemployment. What about cyclical? Well, cyclical, well, this have to do with, for example, when there is a change or changes in trading patterns, it may result in a drop in prices for certain products in the world market. Now, local industries that normally export, they would then need to cut back their production in order to save costs, and that is as a result now they lay off workers. What about seasonal unemployment? Well, as the name suggests, season. Now, this mostly occurs in the agricultural sector and in the tourism sectors. For example, there is a season when there's a certain particular product or crop that needs to be harvested, and that only takes place within that period of time. For example, during certain months, the tourist industry booms, and after that season ends, then there's not much tourists in the country. So persons are being laid off after these periods of season have take place. So what about technical unemployment? Well, really and truly, technical unemployment, this has to do with the technological changes are the improvements that have been result because of the introduction of machines, and this has replaced labor. So this has led many persons to become unemployment because of the introduction of machines, for example in agricultural sector and so on. So right away we know that our answer is going to be D. Let's go on to 34. Question 34. Here it says, lack of sufficient resources to support the demands of a nation's population is known as A, depopulation, B, overpopulation, C, underpopulation, or D, population growth. So what's really depopulation? Well, we know depopulation is really a reduce in the population. B, overpopulation. This is a condition where the resources of an area or a country is not enough, is not adequately, it's not sufficiently able to support the population in that area or country. Underpopulation, we know that it is having to do with insufficient people. It's a very small population. And we know population growth. We know that the world's population growth is always, as long as the birth rate continues to exceed the death rate, then we know that the population growth will continue to grow. So right away, we know that our answer is B, overpopulation. Let's go on to 35. Which of the following is not a result of population growth? A, traffic congestion, B, availability of land, C, development of slums, or D, increased demand on social services. So based on what this is kind of linked to 34, when we have population growth, based on what we have just said, we know A, traffic congestion is going to be a result of population increasing, the number of persons increasing in the population. So what about B, availability of land? So it says not a result. So this B, that is the availability of land, is not a result of population growth. Development of slums is a result of population growth and increased demand on social services, most definitely. So we know our answer is B. Let's go on to 36. Which of the following best explained why birth rates have been falling in some Caribbean countries? A, fewer babies are dying in the first year of life. B, the quality of medical care has declined in some countries. C. Family planning is now encouraged in several countries. Or D. Larger numbers of peoples are migrating from some countries. Well, we could look at A. Fewer babies are dying in the first year of life. No, that wouldn't best describe why birth rates have been falling in some countries. Absolutely not. That's not the best one to explain. Let's look at B. The quality of medical care has declined in some countries. That we could rule that out. Let's look at C. Family planning is now encouraged in several countries. Absolutely, yes. So because of family planning that is now being encouraged, then we have fewer birth rates. Fewer birth rates. So that has resulted in a decline. So C would be our answer. And let's look at option D. Larger numbers of people are migrating. No. From some countries. No. All right. That have nothing to do with the question. Let's look at 37. Which of the following is most likely to result from rising levels of unemployment in a country? A. High birth rate. B. Increased immigration. C. Increase in workers' salaries. D. Increased sporting activity. So this is a giveaway. Our answer would be B, increased immigration. Why we say that? Well, we know immigration is the movement of people out of a region or a country. So if we find increased immigration, then that would more or likely result because of the high levels of unemployment in a country. So people are moving out of their region in search of better opportunities or to find employment. Let's go on to question number 38. Question 38. Here it says, the attractive social conditions offered by some countries have influenced the movement of people from the Caribbean. These conditions may best be described as A. Incentives, B. Push factors, C. Pull factors, D. Encouragements. So we could use in our method of elimination, we could opt out A and D. That's not a part of our answer. So we are left with B and C. Now let us see what would be our conclusive answer. What are push factors? What do we know are push factors? Well, we know push factors are reasons for people to leave a place to seek better conditions. So the reasons why they leave a place. Pull factors now are certain conditions or circumstances or opportunities that attracts or entices people to move to a particular country or an area. So right away we realize the word attracts, attractive. So our answer would be C, pull factors. Let's move on to question 39. It says, which of the following are problems usually associated with rapid urban growth in developing countries? 1. Unemployment. 2. Shortage of housing. 3. Shortage of motor vehicles. Let's look at our answer options. A, is it 1 and 2 only? B, 1 and 3 only? C, 2 and 3 only? Or D, 1, 2 and 3? Now, basically, what this question is really asking is, what are some problems? What are some problems that would occur as a result of migration from rural, people living in the rural areas, underdeveloped, to urban areas, more developed? So, 1, unemployment. Absolutely, that would be as a result of why someone would leave the rural areas for employment. Yes, they would leave that area for employment. So 1 would be a part of our answer. So with using the method of elimination, we can take out C because C does not include 1. Let's look at the other one, shortage of housing. Yes, that would be a reason why, or a problem that is in the urban, rural area, and they go in the urban area. So shortage of housing. So 1 and 2. What about shortage of motor vehicles? No. So our answer would include 1 and 2 only. So our answer would be A. Let's go on to question 40. Healthy individuals are beneficial to a country's development because such individuals are more likely to be workers who are A, less critical, B, satisfied and contented, C, productive and effective, D, self-sufficient and self-centered. So we know that healthy individuals are beneficial to a country's development because why? Because the individual is more productive and is more effective. So this would be our answer, C. That's how beneficial it is to a country, persons who are productive and who are effective. Let's go on to fact 41. It says, which of the following is based on exploiting non-renewable natural resources? A, fishing, B, lumbering, C, bauxite mining, D, hydroelectric power. Well, we know what are exploiting. All right. Let's look at the word. When we know when you exploit something, it means that you're going to make use of, for example, a resource to derive some benefit from it, right? So what from our 4 answer options here, what are we, how would one exploit non-renewable natural resource? Right, and we know non-renewable natural resources are resources that form extremely slowly, and those that do not form naturally in the environment. So is it A, fishing? No, that's not a non-renewable natural resources. That's a renewable resources. Look, what about B, lumbering? That is not a non-renewable. Right. So we know that our answer could not be A nor B. Those are renewable resources. Let's look at C, bauxite mining. Yes, C would be bauxite, would be a non-renewable natural resource. And so it is so true because bauxite mining is done so that it could be beneficial to the country, so that local or foreign exchange can be in to the benefit of the country. So bauxite mining is a non-renewable natural resource. People exploit it so that they can earn foreign income from it. So C, and we know hydroelectric power is not an exploiting of non-renewable natural resource. So let's go on to number 42. Number 42. Here it says, which of the following are most likely to happen in a country where there is a high employment rate? 1, greater demand for goods and services. 2, improvement in the quality of life. 3, an upsurge in criminal activities. A, 1 and 2 only. B, 1 and 3 only. C, 2 and 3 only. Or D, 1, 2, and 3. So most likely to happen now in a country where there's high employment rate. High employment rate. So let's look at it. Greater demand for goods and services. Yes, that is likely to happen when there is a high employment rate. Greater demand for goods and services will be needed because of the amount of persons being employed. 2, improvement in the quality of life. Yes. Yes. 3, an upsurge in criminal activities. No, because you have the employment rate is high, so you wouldn't have an upsurge in criminal activity. So we know 3 would not be a part of our answer. So our answer would be 1 and 2 only. So our answer is A. Let's go on to question 43. It says, which of the following would play an important part in a government's efforts to increase consumption of locally produced food? A, increasing taxes on agricultural lands. B, imposing heavy duties on imported farm tools. C, increasing the price on imported food. Or D, cutting down forest trees to obtain more lands for housing. We could take out D. We could take out D. That would be method of elimination, take out D. Okay, let's look at A, increasing taxes on agricultural lands. So that would, if the government increased taxes, then how would that affect the consumption of locally, notice it says locally produced food. So that wouldn't have an effect on it. So our answer A, we could take out A2 as well. Let's look at B, imposing heavy duties on imported farm tools. Well, that options, no, it's not closely. Let's look at C, increasing the price on imported food. Yes. So increase the price on imported food. So persons are forced to increase their consumption of locally produced food. So our answer would be C. Let's go on to 44. Here it says, it is true to say that marine life in the Caribbean is A, an unlimited resource, B, a renewable resource, C, useless as a tourist attraction, D, not a contributor to persons' diets. Marine life in the Caribbean. Well, it's not an unlimited resource. We know marine life that has a connection with renewable resource. So we know that would be B. This is a simple, easy one. So we don't have to go much in explanation to that. So B. Let's go on to 45. Here it says, which of the following are always by which people have caused soil erosion in the Caribbean? 1, mining. 2, slash and burn. 3, crop rotation. A, 1 and 2 only. B, 1 and 3 only. C, 2 and 3 only. D, 1, 2, and 3. So what would be your answer? Well, we know mining, absolutely, this is a cause of soil erosion. Mining. What about slash and burn? Yes, that has affected the soil. Crop rotation, no. Crop rotation doesn't contribute or have anything at all to do with soil erosion. So our answer would be 1 and 2 only. So our answer would be A. So let's go on to question number 46. It says, which of the following methods of fishing is most damaging to the ecosystem? A, using dynamite, B, trawling the seas. C, setting off fish pots. D, dropping off seines. So using dynamite, that could, yes, damage the ecosystem. Yes. Look at B, trawling the seas. What's really trawling the seas? Well, trawling the seas is, this is where they use a large net. It is a large net that is used to pull fish, and this large net can go to the deepest level in order to catch fish. So it's a fishing net that is used, a large fishing net that goes way down into the bottom and catch fish. So that could be a way of damaging the ecosystem. Yes. C, setting off fish pots. No, that's not affecting damaging the ecosystem. D, dropping of seines. No. As was said, trawling is to pull a large amount of fish. Seines, no, as I said, I attach that to trawling, is a large net that is used to catch a large amount of fish. So trawling would be our best answer. Trawling disease. Some person would probably say A, using dynamite, but trawling is more damaging. Let's go to 47. Most Caribbean countries remain exporters of primary products, mainly because A, they possess limited mineral resources, B, their economies are agriculturally based, C, their labor forces are largely unskilled, or D, they lack the means to process their resources. So, what most Caribbean countries remain exporters of primary products mainly because they lack the means to process their resources. So our answer would be D. Let's go on to 48. Here it says, okay, item 48 refers to the following table, which shows population figures for country X in 2016. So we have number of births, 30,000, number of deaths, 15,000, number of immigrants, 14,000, number of emigrants, 8,000. So here it says, the natural increase in population for country X in 2016 was A, 15,000, B, 21,000, C, 24,000, D, 45,000. So how do we find the natural increase? Well, what we have to do, we have to take away the number of births from the number of deaths. So that would give us a natural increase in the population. So what are number of births? 30,000. And our number of deaths is 15,000. So when we take 15,000 from 30,000, we're left with 15,000. So our answer is A. Let's go on to 49. Item 49 refers to the following graph, which shows the birth rate according to sex for country Z. Right? And see, we have our country's birth from 5 to 55. And our broken lines represent females, and our unbroken line represent male. And we have from 1960, 1965, 1970, 1975, 1980, 1985, and 1990. Okay, so the graph above shows that in country Z, the female birth rate increased steadily between 1960 and 1990. B, female birth rate reached its highest level around the mid-1970s. C, male birth rate was always lower than the female birth rate. Or D, male birth rate was higher than the female birth rate between 1975 and 1980. So let's look at country Z. Let's look at, so option 1 says, the female birth rate increased steadily between 1960 and 1990. Female, 1960 and 1990. No, that's not our answer. Let's look at B. Female birth rate reached its highest level around the mid-1970s. Female birth rate reached its highest level around the mid-1970s. So female is unbroken line in the 1970s, 1970, 75. Yes. So our female reached its highest peak in the 1970s. Looking at our graph here, see the highest peak here. Okay, good. So right away we detect that our answer is going to be B for 49. We already find our answer, so we can move on. Let's move on to question number 50. Here it says, the treaty which led to the establishment of CARICOM is an example of A, bilateral agreement, B, unilateral agreement, C, functional agreement, D, multilateral agreement. Using the method of elimination, C would be out, A would be out, bilateral, we know it's between two nations in agreement, B, unilateral is one nation, but D is agreement between three or more nations. So our answer would be D. Let's go on to question 51. Which of the following shows the progression of Caribbean integration movements? CARIFTA, then CARICOM, then the Federation. B, was it the Federation, then CARICOM, then CARIFTA? Or C, was it Federation, then CARIFTA, then CARICOM? Or D, was it CARICOM, CARIFTA, then Federation? We know it was, we had the Federation, then we had CARIFTA, and then we have CARICOM. That's the order of movements. That's how the progression took place. Let's move on to 52 now. Here it says, which of the following factors hinders cooperation among CARICOM states? A, common economic policies. B, the challenges of globalization. C, differences in cultural traditions. Or D, competition for foreign investments. We know it would not be common economic policies, no. Would it be the challenges of globalization? No. What about differences in cultural traditions? No. So the factor that hinders cooperation among CARICOM states would be competition for foreign investments. That would be our answer. Because if it is common, it means that it's among all the CARICOM states. So that would not be. So we see why our answer would be D, competition. Let's go on to 53. Between 1958 and 1962, Caribbean governments made an attempt to unify the region politically by A, forming a federation, B, seeking independence, C, establishing CARIFTA, or D, organizing CARICOM. We know it was forming a federation, A, between 1958 and 1962. Let's go on to 54. Question 54. Here it says, which CARICOM group is made up of prime ministers, executive presidents, and chief ministers of member countries? A, the Secretariat. B, Common Market Council. C, Standing Committee of Ministers. Or D, Heads of Government Conference. We know this is an easy one. It is a Heads of Government Conference. So our answer would be D. Let's go on to question 55. For which of the following reasons are Caribbean countries most likely to attract foreign investors? A, promoting economic development in the region. B, increasing travel among the people of the region. C, increasing market access for the large territories. Or D, ensuring the purchase of cheaper goods from outside the region. So we know Let's look at our answers. It says most likely to attract investors. So A, promoting economic development in the region. Yes, economic. See that word? Economic, to the benefit of the country. So A. B, increase in travel among the people of the region. No, that would not attract. Let's look at C, increase in market access. No, all the others. So we know A, promoting economic development in the region. Let's move on to 56. Individual countries in the region are too small to make their presence felt on the world stage. Implied in the statement is a need for individual countries to A, return to colonialism, B, espouse republicanism, C, harmonize foreign policies, or D, demand their democratic freedom. We know it would be harmonize foreign policies, C. Let's go on to 57. The CARICOM Single Market and Economy, CSME, was created to deepen the integration movement and to respond to the challenges and opportunities of A, communism, B, globalization, C, independence, or D, republicanism. We know it was for globalization. That was the reason or purpose it was CARICOM Single Market was created. Let's move on to 58. Here it says, which of the following does not result from industrial development in the Caribbean? A, increased export, B, high standard of living, C, decline in employment, or D, increased training opportunity. We know it says which of the following does not result in industrial development. So we know the C, decline in employment. Increased export would result. High standard of living would result in industrial development in the Caribbean. And increased training opportunity would result or contribute to the industrial development. So C, decline in employment, that's the one that would not. Let's go on to 59. If a CARICOM country imposes restrictions on CARICOM products, which of the following provisions is being violated? A, liberalization of trade, B, functional cooperation, C, common external tariff, D, special regime of LCDs. So we know it is a liberalization of trade, A. So we know it. CARICOM trade, so liberalization of trade. Let's move on to our final question of this paper. Here it says, which of the following is a function of the Caribbean Development Bank? A, regulating foreign exchange rates in CARICOM countries. B, providing loans to individuals in the Caribbean for constructing homes. C, serving as a central bank for commercial banks in the Caribbean region. Or D, organizing and supervising loans for developmental work to member states. So we're thinking of the function of the Caribbean Development Bank. So we know it would not be A, regulating foreign exchange in CARICOM countries. It would not be providing loans to individuals in the Caribbean for constructing homes. Neither it would be C. It doesn't serve as a central bank for commercial banks. No. So our answer would be D, organizing and supervising loans for development work to member states. D is our answer. So this is it. We have come to the end of the CSEC Social Studies May June 2018 past paper 1. This is part 2, so we have completed the entire 60 questions. So go ahead and remember to watch part 1 and then come back and watch part 2. So if you have received value from this video and you have benefited, please give me a thumbs up and like the video. And please subscribe and share with your friends and leave a comment below so that we can have an interaction. So thank you for watching, and until then, we'll see you in the next video.